All right, so today we are here. I am Dr. Amanda, and I get this question from patients about how can I lower my blood sugars quickly? Okay, so we always have to put in this medical disclaimer that you definitely want to talk with your own professional healthcare provider because everyone's situation could be slightly different depending on medications that you may be taking and things of that nature. So, again, this is for informational purposes only. This is not your medical advice, the informational purposes only. So, definitely talk with your healthcare provider, but it's good to take notes on what you can do if you find that your blood sugars are high. So, I'm going to be looking over here. So, if you have questions while we're going through this in the chat, please put those there and I'll be looking to see if any questions come up along the way so we can answer those. Again, not medical advice, just educational information for you, okay? So if you've ever checked your blood sugars and it was a lot higher than you expected, and at first you thought, how do I bring this down now? Because in that moment, you're not thinking about how can I keep them down over time? You're just like, I want to know how I can do it immediately, right? And if you ever searched how to decrease your blood sugars quickly, you probably get a lot of different advice. So it can be helpful, it can be confusing, and it can be actually not addressing the root issue. So today we're going to talk about this clearly. Again, take notes and then talk with your primary doctor or provider and see how this can work for you, okay? So we want to know what actually brings down the blood sugars in the moment, what does not work the way people may think. It does not work the way people may think, okay? And how to respond in a way that supports your body safely. That is the key. Safely, 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 because your body needs glucose, your brain needs glucose to function, and we do not want to cause too much disruption in your body because our body likes things safe and calm and steady, okay? So we don't want our bodies to panic, okay? So it's about understanding what happens and how to respond with clarity, okay? Again, put your questions in the chat as we go along the way. And if you're watching this on the replay, then definitely just still put your questions in, tag me, and I will come back and answer the questions that you may have, okay? All right, so first we want to think about when we're trying to get our blood sugars down quickly, what is actually causing our blood sugars to be high, okay? So when our blood sugar is high, it means that there's more glucose in the bloodstream, right? Than your body can currently actually efficiently deal with, okay? So we talked about things before of how our body needs the glucose, but it needs it in a certain place, okay? So if our blood sugars are high, that means it's the glucose is staying in the bloodstream and not going into our cells, okay? So this can happen for several reasons. One, you ate a meal that raised your blood sugar quickly. And if that's the case, then you need to go watch the video from last week to see how you can structure your meals together so that does not happen. So if that happens, let's watch the previous video of how you can structure your meals so that your blood sugar does not rise quickly, okay? The second reason why this can happen would be your body is dealing with insulin resistance, right? More insulin resistance. And we talked about this too, that your body has insulin, but it does not know how to use it efficiently. Like your body is trying to get the insulin in that lock, but something is blocking that lock, okay? And that is called insulin resistance, okay? So we want to try to work with that. And there's previous videos I talked with also about how to lower your insulin resistance. Also, stress hormones can cause your blood sugars to become elevated. Oh, goodness. These are stressful times. We all have some stress that we're dealing with. So we want to make sure we're managing our stress correctly. And the next reason could be why your blood sugars are high is because you're not moving your body after you eat, okay? You haven't moved much after eating. And again, I talked about this on previous videos, but we're going to go through this more effectively today. So the goal is not just to bring our blood sugar down. Remember, our body likes steadiness. Our body likes things to be consistent, and it doesn't like swings in a lot of different directions, okay? So we want to see how we can support our body in in processing that glucose, and especially when it's high. Okay, so what actually works and how can it work quickly? Okay, the number one thing, I said it was the last thing on the list, but the number one thing we want to do is move our body more. All right. So if you follow me along the social media, you will see that I may be posting about, did you do your after meal walk today? Did you do your after dinner walk? Okay. So when we actually move our muscles, that energy, that glucose that we need is used as energy. Okay. So your blood sugars are high, you start to move your muscles, that those muscles start to need that glucose, and it starts to pull it out of your bloodstream because the muscles need the actual energy to be able to move. Okay. So if your blood sugars are high, get up, start to walk around. Walk 10 to 15-minute walk. You can do that. That's very simple. It doesn't necessarily have to be outside, but you want to get up and move. I always try to get you outside though. If it's a nice day out, it's not pouring down raining, hurricane or tornado is a coming, then try to get outside, because being outside in the air actually does something different for you. Of course, you want to do it safely if you can, because that's something quick. You don't have to go to the gym. Don't wait to say, oh, let me get my gym clothes ready. Let me drive over to the gym and walk for 10 to 15 minutes. No, we don't want to do that. We don't want to waste our time doing that. We want to actually get up and move right then. Again, if you cannot go outside, the next thing I would do is say, if you have stairs, try to walk up and down your stairs. You don't have to do it fast. Just walk up and down your stairs for 10 to 15 minutes. Again, this really get those muscles working. And the biggest muscles in our body are in our legs. So if we can get that, that's why we recommend like walking, moving in your legs, because that will take up that most of that glucose, that sugar, and then your muscles become like a sponge and just kind of soak it up. Okay. So if you can do that, that would be the best thing you can do. Okay. Otherwise, you can do like light activity around the house. You've been meaning to, pick up after your 6-year-old of all the things that she has around or something of that nature. You can do that. Just go around to each room, picking up things, bending down, squatting down, standing up, bending over, picking up, using your arms, using your legs. Again, getting your muscles involved. This will help so much and bring your blood sugars down. And it'll be a safe method, okay, to bring your blood sugars down. We don't want to go try to run a marathon, because then our blood sugars will plummet. And that's not a safe way to get your blood sugars down. It'll get it down quickly, but it's not the safe way to do it, okay? Again, this can make notable differences like very quickly in your blood sugars, and especially if you're a person that has already a diagnosis of diabetes and you have one of those continuous glucose monitors. You can see it in real time of how your blood sugars are starting to go down, and you will be very proud of yourself because you're like, all I had to do is get up and move my body more. Okay. All right. So movement after meals is powerful. I want you guys to type that in the chat. If you're listening to this, type that in the chat. Movement after meals is powerful. Now, type it in the chat and like and share the video right now. As soon as you hear this, say it, like it, share it, tag someone so they can actually hear how they can get their blood sugars down quickly, efficiently, and most importantly, safely. Okay. So share this video with someone that you love. Okay. So after we move our bodies around, after we move our bodies around, helping our blood sugars to come down. And I would say, that would be a good thing for someone that even does not have a diagnosis of diabetes or insulin resistance, to actually prevent that from happening. It is always good to get our bodies moving after meals just to use up that energy. Okay. So even if you're listening to this and you do not have a diagnosis of diabetes, or you do not have a diagnosis of insulin resistance, still get up and move your body around. Okay. Next up, after moving your body, that you can do to actually help bring your blood sugars down is hydrate. Can't see that too well, but hydrate. Okay. Water actually helps your body process glucose more effectively. Okay. When you're dehydrated, your blood sugar can appear higher than it is, can appear higher. Okay. So drinking water is a simple step that supports your system. Okay. And water is important anyway, because if we do not stay hydrated, sometimes we actually overeat because we are actually um, underhydrated, not necessarily always dehydrated, but underhydrated. And then we think that we're hungry, but actually our body just needs water. Okay. So do not, again, do not skip out on the water. And it can be very difficult, especially when it's colder outside. I've been noticing this for myself recently. I'm like, Amanda, you have not been drinking your water. Like, the temperature was warm. We were getting a little like sunshine. And I was just like, oh, yes, this is great. And then all of a sudden the temperature plummeted and it started to rain and it was cold. And I was like, whew, I'll just snuggle up here, drink my warm lemon water in the morning, and then forget about water the rest of the day. That is not a good thing, right? So I had to make sure I have my water bottle here in front of me and talk to others about hydration. The more you talk to others about things that actually help you, the more you're likely to stay on top of it. And people are like, Dr. Amanda, how do you continue after 3 decades of working on health and wellness? How do you continue to actually live this life? And that's like, because I'm on here helping others. So when I say it out loud, kind of like when you're at church and the preacher's preaching there and they'll say, we, us, and not just you, y'all. It includes all of us. So I have a human body also, and I am definitely still trying after decades to stay consistent. And when I come on here, or when I talk with others, or when others say, Dr. Amanda, I saw your video and I've been drinking more water, it makes me think, oh, get this out, drink more water, So it is definitely good if you can actually help someone out. That is why I tell you to like and share the video, because others, when you share it with them, they'll be like, oh, I watched that video you sent me. And you'll be like, what was it? It's like, I was talking about moving your body and making sure you're drinking more water, which we all know to do, but it's not always top of mind, right? It's not always top of mind. And when it's not top of mind, we do not actually do it, okay? So if you're sharing your videos, my videos with others, then that will actually help you to actually stay on track yourself. And again, you guys are my own accountability people that I can actually help when I was like, remind me to do the things that I know my body needs also. Okay. So hydrate. And you're like, how much water do I need? Because I don't like water. And until I would say I was probably in my 30s, I didn't really understand why when people said they actually like to drink water. I'm like, you like to drink water? Water tastes like nothing. How do you like to drink water? And I realized after I stopped drinking a lot of sugary drinks, soda especially. For those that know me, know that I absolutely love Coca-Cola. Like, I've had every single type of like the Coca-Cola that's out there, like from their different products that they went through. From a lot of people don't remember this, but I always remember this one. Like, from regular Coke, I never was a big Diet Coke person, but I did like C2 when carbs were the enemy. I don't know if you guys remember C2. So C2 was less carbs. That was their marketing. That's why it's like half the carbs in there. Or now it's like Coke Zero. It was Coke Zero, and now it's Coke Zero Sugar. Okay. I did actually give that up a long time ago, and I still were teased by my previous medical assistant. Like every time I hear that, and I don't know if you guys know what that is, but that is that release of that carbonation when you first pop open the Coke can. And I was like, even to this day, if I hear that, my mouth still can start to water, because it's like my brain remembers when I had that, and I'll call it a very strong preference to drinking Coca-Cola. Okay. But after, getting through the sugary drinks and like drinking more water, I'm like, oh yes, I feel how water has a taste. water actually gives you energy. Like me and my daughter talk about this all the time. Water gives you energy, and it actually makes you to feel more alert. And it's like not just bringing your blood sugars down, but hydration can do so much more for you. Okay. So that was a whole ring around of hydration and water and why it's so important. But we need to make sure we're hydrating in this aspect for our whole body, but also it is a good method to help bring our blood sugars down. And I was saying, how much water should I drink? And you want to try to drink at least half your body weight in ounces, okay? And that's just a general term. Again, this is not medical advice. This is just some education for you to then go back and take it to your own healthcare provider who can actually tell you more specifics about your situation, because different people may have different restrictions on their fluid intake for other unknown reasons that I do not know, with not like physically talking with you. I'm just actually giving you information. But if you need that personalized information, don't forget, here at Atkins Enlightenment Lifestyle Medicine, we can actually personalize that care for you. So you can actually reach out to me at www.dramandamd.com, and we'd be more than happy to assist you further. Okay. So we talked about moving our body. We talked about staying hydrated, or even when our blood sugars are high, we look at that, just start drinking some water, and that will help bring our blood sugars down. Definitely, it could be quickly and a safe method. Okay. The next thing is, it may sound obvious. I know you're like, Dr. Amanda, what you're saying, we know. Again, it is a reminder for you. Okay. Sometimes people respond to high blood sugar by continuing to snack on foods that raise their blood sugar further. So when your blood sugar is elevated, pause. Give your body time to process what's already there, okay? So that means trying to avoid eating more, especially those quick carbohydrates that, again, we talked about in the previous video. So go back and watch the other video, the quick ones. And sugar. We're talking about how to decrease our blood sugars, but sometimes we do this when we have low blood sugars. We try to get our blood sugars up quickly, and we want to do that, but sometimes we do that in the wrong way. So we don't want to continue to snack or eat foods or drink things that will raise our blood sugars or keep our blood sugars high after we went for a walk, after we drank water, and then we'll start to eat again. No, let's give our body a chance to continue to process everything that we have already taken in, burn up that energy from that glucose that we already have, okay? So don't continue to add in more of those quick carbs, because that will cause our blood sugars to stay elevated or go back high again after we just did all that work to bring it down, drinking all that water, okay? So be very, very careful when we do that, okay? So avoid those extra carbohydrates that can quickly raise your blood sugars, okay? All right, so the next thing you can do is to actually use your meal strategically, okay? Your next meal strategically. So your next meal really, really matters. And so instead of adding in more carbohydrates alone, again, this is a brief overview of what we did more in detail the last video. Focus on our veggies, our plant-based proteins, and healthy fats that we want to do a little bit of, okay? Healthy fats, nuts and seeds, a little bit of the healthy fats, again, because our saturated fat is that blocking of our key of our insulin. So we don't want to do a lot of saturated fat. So block that. So we want to actually move our body. Next, we want to make sure we're hydrated. And if you already think you're hydrated, drink a little bit more. We want to make sure that we are not continuing to snack and eat with those quick carbohydrates that are keeping our blood sugars high. And then we want to think about, well, if we do have our next meal, or when we do have our next meal, not if, we need to still eat, but when we do have our next meal, how can we keep this from happening again? Okay. So we want to make sure that we are combining our foods and not eating carbohydrates alone, and making sure that we're combining our foods and help to stabilize our blood sugars. Because again, our body does not like real highs. It does not like real lows. It likes right in the middle. It needs something there. Okay. All right. So let's talk about some more misconceptions for are high blood sugars, okay? And that is, I need to avoid all carbs immediately, okay? So again, carbohydrates are like vegetables. Most time we think carbs, especially for diagnosis of diabetes, like I can't have any carbs, no carbs, eliminate it all, get rid of it. But our body still needs fuel, and sometimes it needs fuel quickly, which the carbohydrates turn into glucose quickly. But we want to try not to do it immediately or all the time. Okay. So we want to make sure it's not about elimination, it's more about balance that we want to focus on. Okay. So we don't necessarily remove all carbs immediately, but we want to actually focus on that meal balance. Okay. And the next thing is I should only focus on sugar. Again, we talked about this last time. Our body responds to total carbohydrates, not just sugar. So even when we try to leave out every single piece of sugar or gram of sugar in the foods, it's very hard. Like a lot of things have sugar in there already, especially if you get it that's pre-made. So we have to be very careful. So again, we want to look at the total carbohydrates that we're taking in and not just the sugar, okay? And most importantly is that one high blood sugar does not mean that you failed, or that if your blood sugars are high at certain times, it is not judgment. You don't want to necessarily feel guilty. Just this is, again, your blood sugars are information that you can use to actually help your body, and you can help you to determine how your body responds and what your body needs. Okay. So don't feel like, oh man, I've been doing all these things and my blood sugar still is running high. What is going on? Again, sometimes it's just not just the information, but how we're applying the information to get things done. Okay. So again, Atkins Enlightenment Lifestyle Medicine, and we can help you work through this. We're not, we don't want you to feel bad. We don't want you to feel like you are a failure or that the judgment is just overtaking you. Okay. That is not the case. We want you to use this information to actually help you to actually work better with your body. Okay. So let's see, what else can we talk about? Why do blood sugars get high in the first place? So we talked about that a little bit already. So again, we talked about how the meals that we eat can do that. But what are we eating? The refined carbohydrates. So we talked about how things are fiber is taken away and we're left with just the fat, sugar, and salt, usually, and no other nutrients. That can actually cause our blood sugars to rise quickly. If we're eating our carbohydrates without the protein and the fiber, which we talked about putting our meals together very efficiently. When we eat larger portion sizes, we want to actually look at that. Like most time, a serving is like in the palm of our hand, and most time we have 2 palms and more. So we want to look at that. We want to make sure that we are not eating too quickly. Again, we want to make sure that we're chewing our food. And again, sometimes if we wait to eat too long, and I noticed this for myself yesterday, I was like, didn't put the fork down. I was like, oh, let me breathe in between these bites, okay? We also can be eating too much saturated fat. And again, this affects our insulin sensitivity, which causes insulin resistance. Remember, saturated fat is that glue, that glob, that blocking of our keyhole, so our insulin cannot get in there. All right, other things that can affect our blood sugars that's outside of eating is, again, stress and poor sleep. When we're not getting our sleep, we're more likely to eat more. Our hunger hormones are out of balance, and therefore we're not being as satisfied when we eat, and we are eating more. So sleep is very important. So if you are a person that you're like, I feel like I'm doing everything else, but I'm only sleeping 4 hours a night, then that could be one of the causes of your blood sugars staying high. Okay. We want to be very, very careful with that. And again, lack of movement, which we already said we're not going to be doing. We're going to be up moving after our meals, walking the stairs or walking outside, walking during our lunch break, whatever we can do to make this happen. Okay. So quickly, how we can actually make these things more part of our daily lives so we don't actually have to see those spikes in our blood sugars so often. Now, again, it may happen on occasions. It may happen because you're like, I don't care, I'm having a cookout that's coming up and I'm eating, ice cream or something, or I'm eating, this pie, or I'm eating these cookies, whatever it may be. You may know, but then you may then have to settle down and go back to your normal routine. But we know sometimes why our blood sugars may spike. But if we're looking to consistently try to keep them down, again, our balanced meals, we'll look at our whole carbohydrates, not the refined carbs. You want to keep those out. So the whole carbohydrates still has the fiber in there. Okay, so the carbohydrates, the fiber, our plant-based proteins, and I always emphasize our plant-based proteins because they have the fiber in there without the saturated fat and the cholesterol. So use that as you may. And then a little bit of our healthy fat. Okay, so when we have all that together in a meal, that actually helps to stabilize our blood sugars. And again, people always think like, what in the heck is a plant-based protein? And I don't want to eat tofu. Beans. And there's so many different types of beans, so many different ways to cook them. Lentils, I love lentils. Like there's different types of lentils also. So you can do that. Edamame, all of that's good that you can try. Trying to really cut out the refined carbohydrates. And again, that is our processed snacks. So those little snack packs that's like only 100 calories, probably want to stay away from them. The white bread, white rices, things of that nature to really help. And then don't forget to move after our meals. We have them together. Even though we put all those things together, the carbohydrates, the whole carbohydrates, our fiber, our plant-based protein, and a healthy fat, we still want to move after our meals because we still want to get that glucose out of the bloodstream into those cells where they actually are working and working efficiently. So definitely do that. All right. So high blood sugar is not something you have to always fear. Again, our blood sugars are information that can actually help to actually reframe what we're doing and actually give us more education and information about how our body works and what we can do to help it the next time. It's showing our body what it needs, how we want to respond, and then we'll begin to see changes. Okay. So again, don't forget to share this video. If you thought this was helpful for you or a reminder for you, then share this with someone else so that can actually be a reminder for them. And don't forget, if you have questions, please put them in the chat. I will come back and answer it. And again, if you are someone that needs more assistance with actually implementing these changes, because so many of these things were like the information is there, Dr. Amanda, I've heard this before. I know this is what I'm supposed to do, but I just don't do it. That is what I'm here to help you with, to actually keep it going, to actually get you the results that you are looking for, that guidance that you need, being that cheer that you need, and then actually sometimes giving you that tough love that you need, like, did you walk after you had that extra large meal? We want to actually do that. So you can actually reach us again. Again, we are here, Atkins Enlightenment Lifestyle Medicine, and you can reach us at www.dramandamd.com. And just think, after doing that, you can see you don't have as many spikes in your blood sugars. You know exactly how your body's going to respond to this food or that food because you're like, I've been checking that. And I know that what I need to do to actually get my blood sugars down. And I do not feel overwhelmed. And instead of watching my numbers skyrocket and just go out of control, they're actually where they should be. It is possible. All right. So blessings and health to y'all. And thank you again for watching. And I look forward to talking with you again next time.